You are listening to the Jack Rants Podcast. Here is your host, Jack Rants.
Welcome back to the Jack Rants Podcast. Today I have a very, very special guest. In fact, it's the youngest guest I've ever actually had on this show. Her channel is one that I've been following recently. It's one that I really enjoy, and I wanted to give a quick introduction to her. So please help me welcome Abigail.
Thank you.
For those of you who aren't really following her, what is your channel to those that have never been on your channel? Like, what would you describe your channel as?
Some people have said that I make like creepy videos, but I don't know if I agree with that. I think it's mainly just interesting or like odd topics that are not really as talked about as they should be, if that makes sense. So like my most popular series is by far my Bonskinny series, which was like a TikToker who had an ARG, which is an alternate reality game. And she created like her own persona for herself. And it was something that I saw on somebody else's YouTube channel that did not have a lot of views. And I was like, you know, maybe I should make a video on that. And so that's kind of where it all started, I think.
I will get back to Bonskinny because I think that I believe that she's a big part of what your channel is now. But one thing that I noticed about your channel, which is really the real reason I love, and I'm going to admit it, I believe the same person that you liked was Rainbot. And yes. I'm a big fan of Rainbot. I've actually messaged her.
Me too. I love her video.
She did one video about Bonskinny and they just like dropped off the planet. I'm like, wait, what happened? I don't want to get into the rabbit hole that is TikTok, so I didn't want to like dig in myself. But luckily, you kind of went deeper into it. But one thing that I did notice when I got eventually into your channel, and this is the main reason I got interested in your channel, it's also the reason I wanted to do an interview with you, is I noticed that your channel, because you're fairly young, I noticed a lot of YouTubers are more focused on viral fame, the more popularity. I want to be the next Paul Brothers. I want to be the next Ninja or whatever. But your channel is extremely free-flowing in the best way because you do not really edit in that much, and you don't really tamper with you. Essentially, you're vlogs, but it's vlogs of stuff you enjoy that just so happen to be a little more on the darker side, which is great. I love that.
Yeah, I think that's actually like the perfect way to describe it. So thank you.
Obviously, besides Rainbot, so who else is a channel that you go, you know, actually maybe I should start a channel? Like, who is another YouTuber or whatever, or it could be anything that really kind of inspired you to go, you know what, maybe I should make my own channel?
Well, I've had actually a lot of different YouTube channels in the past, and they were all flops. Like, they were just horrible. But what actually made me start the channel that I have now and get into the videos that I make was a YouTuber named Loey Lane. And I've been following her for a very long time. I think since she had like 900K, and right now she has like 2-point-something million. Because she was actually part of a group of YouTubers that I used to watch. And she made a video like series, I guess, on Teletubbies Fact. And I used to follow Teletubbies Fact, so I watched her videos and I was like obsessed with that series. So I watched it all the time. And then one time when I was watching it, I was like, you know, maybe I should make a video on that, because my friend at the time actually had a YouTube channel, and he had, I think it was like 100 or 200 subscribers. And I thought that was so cool. And I was like, you know, maybe I should make one. And then, I don't know, that's, I guess, what happened.
As I've already said before, you are extremely young, especially compared to this old fogey. But I kind of wanted to get your perspective, because I don't really have many guests on my channel that are fairly young. From the way the world is acting right now, like how are you or your friends or whoever, how are you guys like absorbing like the chaos of what's going on right now, like between the coronavirus and the people fighting each other over dumb stuff, or like the whole, you know,
election thing,
not just the election thing, but more of just like the ethical fights and the, you know, the all that stuff. Like how are you as a, like, more or less, how are you and like your friends or your circle, like how are you guys like absorbing just the chaos around you? Like, how are you dealing with it? Essentially is what I mean.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to like the coronavirus, I think that pretty much me and like, I think for the most part, my generation, I think, is very like, I don't know if proactive is the right word, but like very like willing to follow what, you know, should be expected of us, I think, when it comes to like the coronavirus and everything. All of my friends are taking it like very seriously. And then when it comes to what you said, like all the chaos and everything going around, there's actually, I know you said you don't like, you're not a big TikTok person, but I feel like TikTok has really influenced at least my generation to kind of like do the right thing and to think for yourself, because I feel like before TikTok and before maybe some YouTubers talking about it, I'm not really sure, I don't think really anybody knew how to think of these situations. And I think that now like social media has had such a big influence on like my generation that it's kind of opened like a place for people to talk about that stuff and like create their own opinion. So all of my friends and me, we're all like very opinionated when it comes to like what we like stand up for and what we think is right and all of this.
Yeah. For me, I was born in the late 80s, early 90s. So my generation was actually the final generation to be born pre-Google, which sounds weird, but really I didn't grow up with like a huge amount of internet. If you ever watched the original Scream movie, I actually, anytime I watch it with like my friends' kids or my friends' like nephews or whatever, I have to pause the scene in a movie, Scream, where there's a part where like she's hugging her boyfriend or whatever, and he drops his cell phone, and I'm like, well, kids didn't have cell phones, and he's poor, so why would he have it? And they're like, oh, what? Why didn't they have cell phones? Like, they didn't know what it was like. Yeah. And I'm not, God, I sound old, but but no, see, the thing is, like, I appreciate TikTok for what it is. It's just more of like, I think I kind of missed the bandwagon on it, more or less, is what it is. And I do think that it does have a lot of good influence, because I've seen a lot of political stuff that has really, really expanded on it.
There's a whole side of TikTok that's just completely like politics. I know a lot of people on that, and they're always like sending me stuff. So definitely.
Well, one of the things that I think this is like the first time, at least in my lifetime, that because there's the past generation, the current generation, and then like the old generation. There's always, it's always going to happen. Like the older generation will always hate like the current and then the future generation. They always do. They're always like, we know more, we don't. But I think this is, to me, this feels like the first time the present generation and then the younger generation are actually on the same page. Because it feels like we finally have come together and gone, you know what? We're going to finally put your feet to the flames. Okay, enough of this promise, just do. Don't say do, and say, like, look, whether or not you like something, whether or not you agree with something, whatever, you can still discuss it. You can still talk to each other. You can still get along about something. I always tell it to people, you can always find something positive in anything negative, and you can always find something negative in anything positive.
Yeah.
You've probably seen a ton of YouTubers who review movies. If it comes to reviewing their favorite movie, they have the hardest time. But if they're a real reviewer, they'll be able to pick it apart, just as they would a bad movie. It's really hard to pick apart something you love, but it's really easy to pick apart something you hate. And I think,
thought about that,
I do like is that we're all kind of slowly coexisting in a good way. Like we kind of have to get out of the mud to get to the topsoil, essentially, is where we're at right now. Kind of going on a lighter note, why is Queen your favorite band?
Oh my God! Wait, when did I say that?
Oh, I just assumed it was because it's all over your channel. I see it in your background. I see you talk about Queen, so I just assume. Is it your favorite band?
Oh yeah, of course.
I just assumed because I'm like I said, I've watched your channel. I've seen the background.
Observant of you.
Well, you know what? Hey. Good choice. They're legitimately one of the best bands of all time, flat out.
Oh my God. Yes, obviously, yes.
Yeah. What about them do you like?
Oh, okay. So, I have always liked Queen, if that makes sense. Like, I feel like everybody in my generation knows who Queen is because of, I feel like, their dads or their moms, because like, I don't know about other people, but my dad was like obsessed with Queen. So he would play it in the car like all the time when I was really little. And so when Bohemian Rhapsody came out in 2018, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I should go watch that. And I went to the movie theater at least like, I think it was 5 times or something. And every single time, all the tickets were sold out. I want to say like December, like 20 something of 2018. And I saw it. And I remember like as soon as the intro kind of started, I like turned to the person I was with in the movie theater. And I was like, I have a feeling I'm really going to like this movie. And it literally changed my entire perspective on like music, movies, fashion, all of that stuff from like, you know, the 70s, 80s, 90s, all of that. So now it's like my entire like music taste, I guess, is like classic rock.
That's awesome.
And Queen just, I guess, happens to be my favorite because I don't know, the movie, I think it introduced like a completely new generation to that kind of music. Also was like watching that movie, I think it was like I was really there. And I don't think I'd ever seen a movie like that at my age that was like that for me. So when I got home and, you know, I had seen the movie like 5 more times in theaters, I was like obsessed. And I was doing like all this research. I was watching all the documentaries and all their concerts. And I don't really know. I think that their music is so good because they talk about and sing about different things in every song. And if you don't like one genre of theirs, like, don't worry, there's another album. You know, each of their albums is a different genre.
Oh, yeah.
Which I love. So you can't really say you don't like Queen because then you're basically saying that you don't like any genre of music.
Exactly.
Their one album, which was The Game, had like another one, Bites the Dust. It had Crazy Little Thing Called Love. So it had like that type of thing. And then they had an album called Hot Space, which was at the time their least successful album, I believe. Now has created that album into something more. And they're saying, hey, this album deserves more credit because it's a completely different genre than they would have normally done. Like that album was made for the clubs and for like, it was like disco basically. So I think that's why I love Queen, because you can basically listen to any genre and their songs are just about different things each time and not like classic love stories. Like I feel like every song is about that now and it's so annoying.
Right. I'm the same way. I grew up classic rock. I've always been into classic rock. I know so much stuff about Queen. It's insane. In fact, here,
same.
I'll give you a little thing. A lot of people don't actually know this. This is a very, very obscure fact about Freddie Mercury you might enjoy.
Okay, let's see. Okay, let's see.
Okay. Yeah. So, around, I want to say 1980s, 1983, when he was really at his like high point of his drug craze. Like he was really, really, doing the party scene, doing the thing, and he was crashing down, and they basically told him, you know, they wanted him to go to rehab, but he couldn't go to rehab because, you know, he's Freddie. He's not going to do what anyone tells him. But what they did do was they convinced him to stay with a friend if he could quit cold turkey. Like, but his friend was basically in charge of him. Now, a lot of people don't know who that friend actually was. But I want to see if maybe you can guess it. Do you know, it's a famous musician. Do you know who that person was? It wasn't in the band, but do you know who that person was?
When was this again? Sorry, what year?
1983.
Okay. So I'm trying to think what album came out in 1983 because it could have been somebody they toured with. Was it somebody they toured with?
Very rarely. I will say this person was at Live Aid. I will say that. That's all I'll give you as a hint.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's a very obscure reference.
I'm like now I feel like, okay, wait. Let me think. Maybe, what friend would he have been so close to? Because I know he was really close to Michael Jackson.
He was closer to him later in his life. There's been one person who's actually been his like unofficial best friend that no one ever talks about. So
was it Billy Squier?
No.
Really?
It was David Bowie.
Oh, that was the other person. Oh, okay. I thought that was too easy of an answer. That's why
I know, but a lot of people didn't know this about him. Because, see, at the time, the reason he went with Bowie was because Bowie had actually just around a year earlier had quit doing drugs because
he had quit.
Because he went from Ziggy Stardust to the Thin White Duke. And when he was the Thin White Duke, legend says, every day he ate nothing but 2 pounds of almond and milk. That's why he got so pale and he got so thin, because he was literally eating nothing but almonds and milk every day. And I'm like, yeah, that'll do it. So it was, almonds, milk, and cocaine. Those are his 3 diets.
Makes sense.
And then, like, of course, he had to quit cold turkey, and apparently how it went was, from what I had read, so many stories, was that person who ended up helping David, it wasn't Elton John, who was it? It was Sting. Sting had helped him by literally saying, we're going to have a party in this secret location. And basically he locked Bowie in for like a full day.
Oh, I think I've heard that.
Like, he literally locked him in there for like a full day. And then Bowie's like, let me out. And he literally, he's like, get out of your system. And he just threw him like a bowl of water and some food. And he just let him get it out of his system. But basically that helped him. And Bowie goes, okay, I want to help Freddie that way, but I don't want to be like that. I want to kind of go a little kinder. So it is kind of cool because really, I mean, they were best friends.
Oh, yeah. Same with Elton, and him and Billy were friends, and then Michael, obviously, later on.
Michael was friends with a lot of people in the music industry.
Yeah, he definitely was.
Like, people don't know actually how influential. I even said this to someone like, oh, well, this person is like Michael Jackson. I'm like, no. I grew up with Michael Jackson. No one will ever be as popular as he was.
Yeah.
The closest is the Beatles, but they were a band. Him as a person, no one... Literally, women actually fainted when he walked near them. Like, that's how creepy it was. Insane. Like, people...
Oh, yeah. Have you seen those people at Frank Sinatra concerts?
Oh, yeah. Or, like, at the old Elvis concerts.
That is scary. Like, were you on something?
But then I see people that do that at, like, old One Direction clips. I'm like,
Yeah, well, that's also not really surprising. So many One Direction fans.
Just kind of wanted to throw that one in there.
So cool. I didn't actually... I think... You know what? I might have heard something along those lines. I did definitely hear about the thing with David being locked up. But yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
he's really cool. Thank you for telling me that.
Well, I'll give you one last little Bowie fact, because this has nothing to do with Queen. While he was the Thin White Duke, he got invited to do a fashion show. It was the biggest fashion show in the world, and this was very, very not reported. Because so many people in the fashion industry had such high ties with, like corporations like Macy's, Walmart, all these companies. They didn't report they were using slave labor to make these clothes.
Oh, God.
And Bowie found out about it. He not only found out about it, he went to Africa and he saw it happening. And
my God, wait, wow, really?
He saw it happening and he's like, this is horrible. Someone needs to do something about it. So what he did... And this is one of the biggest things this is the biggest thing he ever did as the Thin White Duke. He dressed as the Thin White Duke. He went to the fashion show, came out in a limousine in full Nazi attire.
Oh, wow. Oh.
And everyone's like, what? Is he a Nazi? Like, what, are you a Nazi? Are you a Nazi? He's like, no. But I felt if we're going to be in the presence of monsters, I might as well dress the part. And I'm like,
everything.
I'm like, damn.
See, that is why I love those people.
They didn't care. They were just like, do what you do, Yeah, there's photos of it. If you get a chance, check it out. Like David Bowie Nazi outfit. You'll find it.
Yeah, I will, actually. I will.
So back to a little more on the serious side. Going back to the whole Bonskinny thing.
Okay.
That's probably the most famous thing that you've at least had associated with your channel. I think that the way you handled it was probably the most complete version. I know that there's apparently some new stuff, but I don't think it's really relevant to the story anymore because it kind of ended.
Yes, I would agree with that.
What I wanted to ask you was, so looking back on everything from, you being on their Discord.
Oh, yeah.
Do you at all in some way kind of feel like you are a part of the story with Bonskinny?
See, I don't know, because when I was on the Discord, I had my username as the same thing as my YouTube channel, and I had my profile picture was the same as my YouTube channel at the time, and I thought maybe that she recognized me because somebody in the Discord had I think you can, it was like one of my first few times on Discord, so I kind of like forgot how it worked, but somebody like had messaged me on Discord and asked me if I was the one who made the video, and I said yeah, and they were like, do you think that she knows? And I was like, I don't know. So I don't know. I was, like I said in my part 3, she never told me to take the video down.
Mm-hmm.
She never had contacted me because, you know, I have my Instagram and everything in my description all the time. So she had never, ever reached out to me. But I feel like a lot of people have probably messaged her about my video because I don't know if you've really, like, researched her fan accounts.
Yeah, they're crazy.
Her fan pages are, like, insane. It's not weird, I guess. In a way, it's like inspiring because it's like the fact that she was able to get that many people to back her up is like insane. But her fan base is very loyal and tell her everything. Somehow, I mean, I don't really know how to explain it better than that. So maybe she knows about my video, maybe not. But like I said in my part 3, I feel like if I was a part of the story, I feel really bad, I think, and a lot of people have said, hey, you don't need to feel that way.
I don't think you do. Essentially, all you were doing was just telling the overall story. And you were trying to get more of the details of what was going on. But I think that a lot of people that follow the whole, you know, your channel and all that stuff and all the drama and all that stuff, I think I don't know if they necessarily blame you, but I think that they link you in some capacity. It's kind of like you're like a fourth party to whatever's going on.
Yes.
If you could, you know, talk to her,
okay.
What would you say to her? Like, if you could just talk to her.
Oh, I'd have a lot of questions, I feel like. I think I would be more interested not in like her story, like as her ARG, because I think it's pretty safe to say that I know everything about that. But I would want to know like kind of how she came up with it, and also like what caused her to feel, because I know that she has a facial deformity. So I feel like it would be really interesting to ask her how she dealt with that. From what I'm aware, she dropped out, or not dropped out. I don't know what the word would be, but she did not finish, I guess, in-person high school. I believe she stopped in 9th grade, and now she's homeschooled because of bullying. So I would want to know like her experience with that, and if it really was like, if the Cruz-on syndrome was really like that. I can probably see how it would be something to where you would need to drop out of school, especially, you know, not sure exactly if her internet personality is how she acts in real life, but she doesn't seem to handle like criticism very well. So I'm not sure how she would react to things like that happening in school. But I think I would want to ask her about that, because we don't really have a lot of information on the origins of like Bonskinny. We have the information of what happened after her TikTok was created. But I mean, there have been like the yearbook pictures were released of her. There was like a picture of her with somebody at a wedding that was released when she was like maybe like 7 or something. Well, I guess I would want to know about like her upbringing and kind of like what caused her to feel that she wanted to make the ARG, if that makes sense.
No, it does make sense. I was always just kind of curious, like, you know, as I was going through the videos and, you know, watching some of your videos and kind of deep diving more into it, it seemed as though out of everyone that was reporting, you were the only one that actually had this kind of self-awareness to the point where you actually are able to go, she's still a person, you know, like maybe we kind of, maybe this kind of pushed her over the edge. But at the same time, you're also kind of playing devil's advocate in the sense that you're going, well, at the same time, you're kind of going out and saying, hey, I'm being held against my will. And you're kind of putting yourself out there. It's kind of like a double-edged sword.
Yeah. I think that my personal opinion when it comes to what you just said about the whole, she put herself out there and said, you know, I'm in a cage and all that stuff. I feel like she didn't think that what she was doing would have such an impact on her, because now I feel like she's probably getting to the point where everybody associates her with Bonskinny, so she cannot just be herself, because I know she's an artist, so every time she tries to create something else, she's kind of like blocked into this whole Bonskinny situation. It's probably hard for her to get out of, because I have seen her post about that on her Instagram. But I think maybe if it was her goal to blow up, which I don't personally think it was, maybe like she thought, hey, yeah, let's get TikTok famous, but I don't know. That's another thing I would want to ask her about. I think that she probably was just not aware that it would come off as triggering, I guess, to some people, because, you know, there are people who have commented on my videos like, you need to call the FBI, you need to do this. And I'm like, it's an ARG, it's not real. But you know, then there's people who have commented like, oh, this girl has some serious mental health issues, she needs to go to rehab. And I'm like, okay, you know, that's a little bit too far. I understand that she put herself out there, but she probably wasn't expecting to get the amount of backlash that she did from it all, is my opinion. That's what I think.
Oh, I mean, that is, yeah, I mean, I have to agree with you. You know, it's really funny that, like, a lot of the TikTok-y generation and the Vine generation kind of have this mentality of, like, they look back at the stuff that my generation kind of watched and they go, how did people believe this? How did people? And then it's like, it's so funny because people didn't like, good example. One of my favorite horror films of all time is The Blair Witch Project. Because,
oh, really?
Because
I've actually never met somebody who likes that movie.
I love that movie. And the reason I love that movie is for a couple reasons. But one of the main reasons I love it is because it is the only film I've ever seen that perfectly encaptures what madness looks like. Like real crazy in the woods.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree.
And also the fact is you don't get to see anything. It's all in your head. And then not only that, if you actually go into what they did to build up that movie, because they took over a year and a half to build that movie. Before that movie was, while that movie was, you know, being in the works and the behind the scenes, what they did was they created the most elaborate website in the ages of the internet where it was so hard to make like elaborate websites. They convinced the mayor of Blair to go along with it. All of the movie posters were actually missing posters. They convinced the sheriff to say, hey, yeah, we've been looking for these people. All three of the actors used their real names. Like, they went so far into making this real that that people believed it. And people go, how could they believe it? They're so dumb. And I said, because you didn't understand it. This wasn't an era where you could just pull it up and you could whip out your phone and go, oh, well, clearly Google states. No, it wasn't like that. You really couldn't proof check anything. One of a kind to do that. But it's so funny to me when, like, the younger people look at, like, Blair Witch Project, like, how could anyone think that's real? Now this TikTok, that's for real. I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah, I can see how the older generation, when the movie probably first came out, was probably shocked by it. I could see.
My generation looks back at people who watched, like, the original radio broadcast of War of the Worlds, and, like, people were, like, hurting each other and hearing it and thinking it's real, and we're like, how the hell do you think it's real? But at the same time, knowing now compared to then, it's totally different mindset.
Yeah.
But I kind of see it. Do you think that's the appeal of ARGs, is that it's more like blurring the lines of real and fake? Or do you think the better ARGs are more of just ones that make you think?
I really like the ARGs that take something that is believable and then turn it into like a conspiracy theory. Like, okay, I'm not sure if you've ever heard of Ash Vlogs.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Oh, you have? Okay. So that's like the perfect example of an ARG that I love, because that is something to where it's so believable that somebody could, you know, start a YouTube channel and then be followed. You know, that's just like a thing. And you know, I think you know, it turns into something that could really happen to somebody. And I think that's why people get so concerned with ARGs, because like with Bonskinny, those things could really happen to someone. You could look at Bonskinny and not know that probably in the first like 10 minutes of my YouTube video, the first one I ever made on Bonskinny, you're probably thinking, oh yeah, that girl has some serious mental health issues, you know?
Yeah.
And then as you like kind of get into it more, you're like, wait, is this real? Is it not? And then it becomes evident that it is not real. But then from that point to look back at it and say, wow, that was really creative. I really like those ARGs. Not sure if that was like the answer you wanted, but
the way I feel about ARGs is the same way I feel about movies.
Okay.
You could take the most stupid, idiotic, weird, or bizarre, or intricate concept. The concept isn't the problem. It's the execution. So
Okay.
if you have a really weird, dumb concept, but if you execute it properly, I'll be into it. So like, one of them is one that I thought that sounds really stupid, but it did it so well was the sun is gone.
Oh, the sun vanished.
The sun vanished. That's it.
Yep.
I like that, but at the same time, I'm also like, it's an ARG, but it's also a concept of like, well, it's interesting. Like, wait a minute. Let's see where this goes. You know what I mean? And
that was definitely one of those to where I liked it at first, and then it got kind of repetitive, and so I stopped following that. But I would like to make a video on that. It's just, I feel like it was so, like, no offense to the creator or anything.
yeah.
I just feel like they dragged it on for too long, So now it's like,
The other problem I do have, and I'm sure you've noticed this, certain ARG creators, they have amazing concepts, but they suck at completing it. They really, they have what I call the Stephen King syndrome. If you read enough Stephen King, fantastic build-up, fantastic writing, fantastic characters, terrible endings. Every time he does, it's like terrible endings. It's just kind of like, wait a minute, what?
Teletubbies facts.
Yeah, it was a lame ending. It sucked.
It really was. And I think that I guess some people have their own, like, issues. Like, sometimes, ARGs get, like, shut down all the time because, like, either, I remember when ARGs were a huge thing on Twitter, like, back in, like, 2016, 17, like, 18, like, when Teletubbies Fact was around, and, like, Dear David, those things were, like, they were getting tweets deleted and tweets shut down, and then eventually, obviously, with Teletubbies Fact, their whole entire account got shut down without actually concluding anything. So I think, yeah.
Like, I am a huge fan of trying to find more about this one called Echo Rose, where it's like this girl who goes into a town, and the way they're doing it is very intricate. Like, she's a psychic. They've established that she's a psychic. She's new to this town. The town is apparently cursed. And it's so intricate because they have, like, other people in it. And then they intersplice, like, that with another YouTube channel. And the YouTube channel has to do with skating. And they have nothing to do with each other. But then they end up meeting together. And then stuff happens. It's just, like, I love those kind of ARGs because
so, like, kind of like Ash Vlogs, I feel like, is sort of like that, where it has, like, so many different channels.
Yeah It's like that whole multiverse kind of thing. I love multiverse stories kind of thing.
Yeah, like, have you heard of Gregory88?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so that ARG is, like, exactly what you just described. This guy goes into a house that, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was, like, he inherited it. And, like, weird things started to happen, and he kept seeing this. And when I tell you, this guy must have been, like, a great Photoshopper or something. I don't know how he did it, but he got these pictures of what he was explaining in his tweets, and they're so realistic. And so that is one of those things where it's like, is that real? Because it's seriously, you would not be able to tell it was an ARG. He basically finds all these things in the forest around his house. And it's just really, really creepy.
Is that one with the lady with the face or whatever?
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, I have seen that one. Oh, that was such a good one. I couldn't remember what it was called, but I have seen it.
I'm pretty sure that one is still going on.
Is it?
I think that the guy, somebody either commented or DM'd me on Instagram, because I did say in one of my videos that I wanted to talk about Gregory88. And somebody messaged me or commented, I don't remember, they suggested that I do my video after the story is over. And I was like, what do you mean? I thought it was over. And they were like, no, he does it every summer. So I'm not sure if that's, like, true. But I found, like, several YouTubers who have made, like, what I did with the Bonskinny videos, but with Gregory88, like several part videos. So I really would like to do a video on that, but I feel like it would just take so long to get everything
Yeah.
Especially if it's been going on for like 2+ years or whatever.
Right. I think that sort of style of storytelling is kind of more interesting for like a brancher audience. But I do think that would be a really difficult thing because there's so many like hidden clues and intricate things you'd have to go through to just explain it to someone.
Yeah. That's what like Dear David is. That's why I've been so, when do I make this video? Because I haven't even started to go way down on his Twitter and get all the screenshots and then go and find the clues. It's like with Teletubbies Fact when they were constantly posting and deleting, and you'd have to find these people who have these tweets of like their Morse code things that say the dates of when they were going to do something. Yeah, I think those are really interesting, but they're just so hard to, like, for me to get a video out for those, because you need to go into so much like research and try to find all the secret little things. With a story like Teletubbies Fact, if I had missed something from like one of those other accounts like Sharon Teletubby or whatever, if I were to have missed one of their big tweets, the entire story would just not make sense.
Yeah.
So, then it was like, what's the point of doing it,
Yeah, that does suck. When you have multiple things like that, it's hard to keep track of what is relevant, what is a red herring, what's a misdirect.
And then some things are just like troll tweets, like with Teletubbies Fact. Like some stuff that they would post is like not relevant to the storyline. That account would like trick you because they'd post something that's a troll tweet or that you think is a troll tweet, and then it ends up not being one. And then you need to go back and screenshot that and then order.
It's even worse when it's popular ARGs because then you get the fake accounts that are trying to just branch off of it. Because there are so many, and I'm not trying to be disrespectful here, but there's this one person on YouTube who's claiming to be Bonskinny, but I know it's not her because the girl is extremely heavy set and she has like a guy torturing. I'm like, come on. I'm not even going to acknowledge the account. It's not her. It's not even her body shape.
I mean, it's like, if you're going to do that, at least make it realistic. I mean, they didn't even draw anything on the mask. Like
yeah.
Yeah. And people comment, and like, I literally, it's so funny you bring that up because somebody commented, I swear, on one of my videos like last week saying, oh, Bonnie has a new Instagram or a new YouTube account. She's continuing the story. And then they actually commented the link. And so I was like, oh, okay. And so I followed the link, and I was like, this is not her.
Yeah, you could tell it's not her.
Go into, like, a whole explanation.
And the girl doesn't even... The worst part is, the girl doesn't even sound like her. Like, if you listen to her when she does the Bonskinny voice, she sounds like... But when the one girl does it, she sounds like... I'm like, no. That's not even close. Like, what?
No, it's not.
It's not even... That's a whole extra octave. What are you talking about?
Extra octave.
I did kind of want to ask you real quick, because you seem to... I feel like the hardest video for you to do was the one about the little boy and the electric chair.
Yeah.
And that clearly, while watching that, I'm like, it was getting me teary-eyed to watch, because I'm like, I follow a lot of like civil rights stuff, and I didn't even really know that much about that story. But at the same time, it makes me sad, but it doesn't shock me. Not the shock of the story, but it's like, yeah, that's how it was. Like when people go...
I feel like I didn't do that video as well as I could have, actually. It's not one of my favorite videos I've ever done, but I did it because I felt like it was like important to talk about, obviously. Mm-hmm. I think that I could have gone into way more detail on the death of the two girls. Mm-hmm. I feel like I could have gotten way into like why he was framed. I feel like I kind of talked about it, but I didn't do it like very well, I feel like. And I kind of like, that really sucks because that video was, I feel like, something that was really important. Mm-hmm. And I felt like I could have done like such a better job on that video. So that kind of sucks now that I like rewatched that.
Well, here's the thing I will say real quick. See, at first I would say that normally, but the difference is you brought a story to light that a lot of people don't know about. And the fact that you even did that is a good accomplishment. Like, whether or not you did all the details, they can look up the details. But you brought the actual story, the main key points of the story, to the relevancy. So the fact that you did that is an accomplishment, and I do praise you for that. But I don't...
Thank you.
I don't think... if you had gone into the details of the story, it would have taken away... I think it would have taken away from the impact of... it would have raised more questions to the point of your telling, which was the boy himself. Because then it would have raised more questions about, well, who did kill the girl? Well, who did? It's not that, no disrespect to them, but the story you were telling was about what happened to this boy, not necessarily what happened to the girls. The girls' lives are as important, true, but it was that you weren't necessarily telling that part of the story. I mean, you can always go back and go into more detail about it and like do an update later, but at the same time, I like that the way you told it, because it was just you saying, you know, hey, look, this is wrong. And I think it was wrong for the girls too, but it was also wrong, especially wrong for the boy who had nothing to do with anything. And
yeah, okay, I agree with you, like, with the point on what your opinion was.
And I think that, you know, stories like that are sadly not a common one, especially the earlier you go back in history, because it's so irritating that it has taken over 400 years to people actually go, for the old curmudgeonly people to go, are you trying to tell us that there's a racial issue in our system? I'm like, yes, we've been saying that for over 400 years.
Yeah, for sure.
It's like, I'm like, let me forewarn you. This whole idea of systemic racism didn't start with bringing it up in Hamilton. This was way before that. Like,
yeah.
Hamilton wasn't the first to bring it up. This is like a thing that's been going on for a long time. But my point of it is, and I'm not trying to get too much into the racial stuff, but my whole thing of it is, I feel, because I'm going to be honest, for a long time, I really felt like the newer generation didn't care. Because it seemed like it became more, as years go by, it felt as though it became cooler to be dumber. And that is,
I can agree with that.
That is a mentality I just refuse to accept. And I'll say this as a generation who made Pogs. That we know stupid. I know stupid when I see it. But I don't think that accepting stupidity as like a popularity contest should be a thing. But I'm glad that there are people like you and a bunch of, very, very like-minded individuals who just have the mentality of, you know what, maybe it's not just about my ego. It should be about everything.
Yeah, I agree.
And I think that's a really cool sentiment. I do have one final little question, and that is, obviously you're a big fan of the show Gotham.
Yes.
So, is it just specifically Gotham, or do you like all Batman, or...
It's like all of them for me, definitely. But Gotham is like what started it. Well, actually, that's not true. Joker started it, the movie, and then I got into The Dark Knight, and then, Gotham, and all of that.
Well, I mean, Joker is a fantastic movie, but...
Yes, it is.
With that being said, who is your favorite Batman?
Oh, that's really difficult.
Okay, let's make it easier. Favorite live-action Batman. Makes it a little easier.
Okay. So, I feel like some of them are different. Like... probably I want to say Michael Keaton.
That's a good choice. He's my favorite.
Yeah, probably. Okay, let's just stick with that. Yeah, he's probably my favorite.
You know why he's actually, you know what? I've even pointed this out to someone. Everyone says, well, Christian Bale's the best. The reason I don't like Christian Bale as Batman, nothing against him. I think he's a great Batman, but he's a terrible Bruce Wayne. He is the worst Bruce Wayne because he's so suspicious.
Yeah.
Like, if I saw that guy going like, all right, everybody get out. I don't want to be around. I got stuff to do. And I'm like, this dude's got something going on. I'm like, in The Dark Knight, he literally goes into a secret passageway in front of other people. And he's...
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's just like...
Like, when they wake up, they have no questions.
Yeah, no one's got any questions. It's like, hey, are we going to talk about the fact that Bruce Wayne went into his secret room?
What's surprising to me is that, like, nobody figured out it was him. Like,
right.
mean, like, it's kind of like, if the Joker had... I'm assuming he must have been, like, borderline obsessed with him. That's what I would assume, right?
Mm-hmm.
You would think that he would have, like, figured out, oh, this could be a guy. But, like, you don't have any scene with Bruce and Joker. Like, it's just Batman. And I feel like that would have been really good to add.
Yeah, the one thing that I did like that Michael Keaton did as Batman. One of the stupidest things I heard was like, yeah, but you couldn't believe that guy is Batman. I'm like, exactly. That's the point. Yeah. He doesn't look anything like you'd expect Batman to look. Hell, people didn't even know he was Bruce Wayne because he just looked like a guy.
And that's what I'm hoping happens with Robert Pattinson.
Well, I have on my library channel, which is kind of an expansion of YouTube, I have the full panel of the new Batman movie with the director. And he actually goes into detail about it, but basically what he says is, this is not going to be like any other Batman movie. Because the guy has even said, huge Batman fan. He brings up like comics, obscure comics a lot of people have never read. And he said, what I'm doing, as opposed to every other Batman movie, is I'm making a detective movie first. And I'm like, that's true. No one's ever done a detective Batman movie.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
I'm like, I really want to see that. Because obviously, I mean, I'm pretty sure the main villain is... I know Penguin's in it. I know Penguin's in it. I know Catwoman's in it. Riddler. I want to say there's one other villain in it. But I'm curious to see what they're going to do. Because I it's funny that everyone's calling him Robert Pattinson now.
Oh my god.
Because they just like they did Batflick, so now they're calling him Robert Pattinson. I think Robert Pattinson is a very good actor. I think he gets stuck with the stigma of Twilight, and I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, and then some people, like for some reason, like not everybody knows that he was in Harry Potter too.
Yeah, he was Cedric Diggory.
Oh my gosh, I had a friend who literally watched all of the Harry Potter movies, and I was like, so, do you like the guy who plays Cedric? And she was like, who? Like, okay. Forget about him.
I know, right? I've seen him in other movies. He's actually a good actor. I was really surprised at how good an actor he was. Because, I give actors, like, clout as to what they can do. And I think, just like I said, I think Rami Malek was the perfect cast for Freddie Mercury.
Yes.
And someone said, oh, is it because of the fake teeth? I'm like, no, actually, you know what? The real thing that did it was he got his posture down and the fact that Rami Malek is a very small guy. Because that's an aspect people forget about Freddie.
Rami Malek has the exact body type that Freddie did. He has like very like slit, like short, like torso, but long legs. And that's what Rami has, but he's still short. Like, because you would think that Freddie would be taller than he is by the concerts and stuff. But then you notice in the scenes in Bohemian Rhapsody, like when they do the group hug after he tells them that he has AIDS, he's like the shortest one.
Yeah. They got such a good cast with that movie.
Yeah, they really did.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, it is a biopic, and every biopic, especially musical ones, they have to change a lot of the real story. But for what they did, it was a great story. It was still a great story.
I think so, too.
And I'm glad that he won the Oscar for it. He deserved it.
Yeah, he definitely did.
Well, I think that's going to about do it for us. Is there anything you wanted to say before we go, Abby?
I don't think so.
All right. Well, thanks again for coming on the channel and letting me interview you. I hope to work with you sometime soon in the future.
Thank you.